Left in the dust. The smoke was thick in the air. Fires still burned in the distance. Broken ships and black dust covered the land. The alien colony had fallen. Sira, a young alien girl with pale skin and glowing blue eyes, lay in the rubble. Her body was weak. Her arm was broken. Her voice had stopped hours ago. Around her, the last drops of energy flickered from her suit. She was alive, but just barely. Above her, the last ship from her people hovered in the sky. The leaders spoke coldly, through the communicator. "She is too weak to bring, no use, leave her." And just like that, they left her behind. Sira watched the ship disappear into the clouds. Her eyes didn't cry. Her kind didn't cry like humans. But inside her chest, something cracked. She had fought in the battle, tried to save her healer unit. She had screamed when the buildings fell, but in the end, none of it mattered. She was alone, forgotten. Hours passed. Dust blew across the ground like silent ghosts. The wind was sharp and cold. Sira couldn't move. Her breathing slowed. Her body began to shake from the cold. She closed her eyes thinking this was her end. Then, footsteps, boots, heavy and slow, crunched on the rubble. Someone was here. Sira didn't believe it at first. Maybe it was a machine. Maybe death had come for her. But when she opened her eyes, she saw a shadow, a tall figure with a helmet, armor, and a strange Earth flag on his shoulder. A human. He crouched beside her and stared. His name was Daniel. He was a repair tech with Earth's rescue team. He had come to search for parts, but what he found was a broken alien girl half buried in the dust. "Hey," he said gently, voice muffled through his helmet. "Can you hear me?" Sira blinked slowly. Her mouth didn't move, but her eyes spoke. She was still alive. Daniel checked her vitals with a scanner. Her numbers were bad, too cold, too low, too close to death. He looked around. No cameras, no officers, no one was watching. He stood up and tapped his comm. "This is Tech 17, no salvage found, returning to base." But he didn't leave. He knelt back down. Carefully, he reached out and touched her hand. It was shaking. Thin. Cold as ice. He didn't know why, but he whispered, "I'm not leaving you." Daniel worked fast. He wrapped her in thermal cloth. He used a heat patch on her chest. He cleaned the blood from her forehead. Her eyes fluttered. She was barely awake. Then, he lifted her. She was lighter than he expected. Fragile. Like she would break. He carried her through the ruins back to his crawler truck. He placed her inside and sealed the doors. The heater came on. The lights were soft. Sira's body began to warm. Still she didn't speak. Daniel opened a nutrient pack and gently placed it near her lips. "Just a little," he said. "You'll feel better." She sipped it. Weak, but alive. He sat beside her, watching her carefully. She looked so different from humans. Long fingers, soft gray-blue skin, tiny silver patterns on her temples. But in that moment, he didn't see an alien. He saw someone abandoned, someone in pain. He saw someone who needed help. Later that night, back at base camp, Daniel kept her hidden in the supply pod. He told no one. The base commander was strict. "Any unauthorized alien contact must be reported," the rule said. But Daniel didn't care. She had been left to die. And that didn't sit right with him. He wrapped her tighter in blankets. She was sleeping now, barely breathing, but safe for the night. Outside, the cold winds howled again. Inside, the human sat beside the alien girl, watching, guarding, waiting. And somewhere, deep in the quiet dark, her fingers moved slightly. She was still holding his hand. Against all orders, the night passed slowly. Daniel didn't sleep. He sat on a small crate beside the alien girl, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest. Her body was still weak, but she was alive. He had managed to keep her warm and fed. He had broken rules. and he didn't regret it. But morning was coming, and with it, trouble. At sunrise, the camp outside was loud. Human soldiers moved across the wreckage. Machines scanned the ruins. Drones flew in the air, checking for leftover enemies or forbidden survivors. Inside the supply pod, Sierra slowly opened her eyes. Her head turned. Her glowing eyes found Daniel again. "You stayed," she whispered. Her voice was hoarse like wind over dry stones. Daniel looked at her, surprised. "You can speak human?" "A little," she said, her words slow. "Learned, before the war." He smiled. "Then you know what I'm risking." Sierra blinked. "Why?" Daniel hesitated. "Because I saw your people leave you, and I couldn't do the same." Sierra turned her face away. Her hands clenched the blanket. Her own people had judged her as finished. No future. No value. That was their law, but this human, this stranger, had broken his own law just to help her. She didn't understand it. Later that day, Daniel stepped outside. He locked the pod and placed a heat seal on the door to keep it warm. His heartbeat was fast. If anyone found her, he'd be punished, maybe even exiled. He walked to the command tent. Inside, Commander Riggs sat at the table with a datapad. The man had gray hair, sharp eyes, and zero patience. "Tech 17, Riggs said. "Report." Daniel cleared his throat. "No salvage found. Area's mostly ash and metal." "No survivors?" Riggs asked. Daniel paused. "None official." Riggs stared at him for a moment. "Careful, son. There are eyes everywhere. Don't make me doubt your loyalty." Daniel nodded, but his jaw tightened. He turned to leave. Just as he stepped outside, a mechanical voice buzzed in the air. "Attention all personnel. Alien scan drones arriving for final sweep. All life forms must be registered." Daniel froze. Drones. They'll detect her. He sprinted back to the pod. Inside, Sierra was trying to sit up. Her body trembled. She was still healing. Daniel rushed in and helped her stay upright. "You have to hide," he whispered. She looked at him. "They're coming." He nodded. "Alien drones. They'll scan everything. If they find you, they'll erase you." Sierra's eyes filled with something close to fear. "My kind. Don't forgive traitors." Daniel looked into her eyes. "Neither do humans." He grabbed the heavy tools crate and opened a false panel underneath. "Climb in here, it's a maintenance crawl space. It'll block the scan." She didn't argue. She crawled in, wincing in pain. Daniel sealed the hatch just in time. Outside, the hum of drones filled the air. The pod door opened. 2 black spider-shaped drones floated inside. Red lights flashed from their sensor eyes. Daniel stood still, hands behind his back. Unit registered. Tech 17. Clearance confirmed. Beginning sweep. The drones moved slowly, scanning every surface. They hovered near the med pack, then near the warmth blankets, then near the floor. One of them stopped. It hovered just inches above the hidden panel. Inside the crawl space, Sierra held her breath, her hands trembled, pressed tight against her chest. The drone paused. Beeped. Heat signature, residual. No life form detected. Logging temperature anomaly. Then it moved on. Moments later, both drones floated out of the pod. Daniel didn't open the hatch immediately. He waited 5 minutes just to be sure. Then he opened it. Sierra gasped for air and pulled herself up. Her skin was pale, her forehead damp with sweat. "They're gone," Daniel said softly. Sierra sat against the wall, breathing hard. "You could have let them take me." "I didn't." She looked at him. "Why?" Daniel shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe because you were thrown away, like junk, and I know what that feels like." Sierra tilted her head. "You?" Daniel smiled sadly. "I wasn't always a soldier. I was raised in a poor zone on Earth. I was sick as a kid. No one thought I'd live either." but someone helped me." He looked at her with steady eyes. "Now, it's my turn." That night, as Sierra drifted to sleep again, her fingers reached out across the blanket, and Daniel, without thinking, gently held her hand. Outside, the cold wind returned. But inside the pod, two strangers, one human, one alien, shared something rare, not just safety, trust. First words, first steps. The snowstorm had passed, but the cold still lived in the air. Inside the supply pod, the heater hummed softly. Daniel sat beside the resting alien girl, Sierra. Her skin was no longer ice pale and her breathing had become steady. But her body was still weak. Daniel checked her bandaged arm. "You're healing slowly," he said, "but better than yesterday." Sierra didn't answer. She just stared at him. That morning, Daniel tried something new. He handed her a soft gray jacket, human-made, worn out but warm. She looked at it. "This isn't yours?" "It was," Daniel said, smiling. "Now it's yours." Sierra hesitated, then wrapped it around herself. The sleeves were long, the collar was wide, but she didn't complain. She looked small in it, like a child trying to wear her parents' coat. Daniel offered her a protein bar. Sierra sniffed it, then bit slowly. "It tastes like rock," she said. Daniel laughed. "It does, but it keeps you alive." Her lips twitched, a small smile. "Humans eat strange things." "And aliens?" he asked. "We harvest fruits grown in crystals, soft, sweet. Not this." "Dry brick?" Daniel said. Sierra nodded. "Yes, brick." They both laughed, just a little. It was the first time she laughed since the war. Later that day, Daniel tried to help her walk. "You need to get stronger," he said. "If something happens again, we may have to move fast." Sierra frowned. Her legs were weak, bones stiff from lying still too long. "I'm not ready." "You don't have to run. Just try standing." She gave him a tired look. But she placed both hands on the floor and pushed up. Her knees trembled, her arms shook. Daniel stepped forward. "It's okay, I've got you." He held her by the waist, carefully, respectfully. Sierra took a breath and stood. It lasted only 10 seconds. Then her legs gave out and she fell forward. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. Her head rested against his chest. "I failed," she whispered. "No," he said gently. "You tried." She closed her eyes. "Why do you care so much?" Daniel looked down at her. "Because you're still here. That's enough." For a moment, the pod was silent. Sierra didn't speak again that hour, but she didn't let go of his jacket either. That evening, outside the camp, something unexpected happened. A patrol unit found a body. Not Sierra's, but another alien. One of her kind, badly burned and dead for days. They reported it to command. "Looks like the last survivor," Riggs said. "That confirms it. No one left alive." Daniel heard the news. He said nothing. Inside, he found Sierra sitting quietly. "They said they found the last alien," he told her. Sierra didn't look surprised. "So I don't exist." Daniel crouched down. "No, to them you don't." She looked at him slowly. "But to you?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "To me, you're the reason I stayed." Sierra looked away. There was something in her that wanted to believe him. But she had been thrown away by her own kind. Lied to. Used. She had never trusted humans before. But Daniel hadn't just saved her. He listened. He helped. He cared. No one had done that in a long time. She finally spoke. "My people say a broken tool must be melted and reforged." Daniel tilted his head. "And what do you say?" She looked at her hands. "Maybe broken things can still work, just in new ways." Daniel smiled. "I like that." That night, as the lights dimmed in the pod, Sierra lay quietly in the corner. She wore the jacket now like it was hers. She didn't ask for food. She didn't ask for help. She just whispered something soft in her language. Daniel didn't understand it, but she looked peaceful. And when she turned to face him before sleeping, her eyes looked different, not afraid, not angry, just alive. She had spoken. She had stood. She had smiled. And now, she had hope. They want her gone. The next morning came with noise. Warning sirens blared from the far edge of the camp. Daniel stepped outside the pod, trying not to look worried. Soldiers rushed by, some shouting, some loading weapons. Above them, sleek alien drones passed in tight formation. Their silver shells gleamed under the cold sun. A new message had come. An official one. The Zarethi High Council, Syrah's alien leaders, had sent a final broadcast. All abandoned units are now listed as irrecoverable. If found, they must be terminated. This order is final, no exceptions. Daniel stood frozen near a crate. The message played on every comm screen across the camp. Some humans nodded in approval. Others didn't care, but Daniel's stomach twisted. He ran back to the pod. Inside, Syrah was already sitting up. Her hands shook slightly, but her back was straight. "You heard it," she said. Daniel nodded. "They've given the kill order." Syrah didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked at him. "Now I'm not just forgotten," she whispered. "Now I'm unwanted." Daniel walked over and knelt beside her. "You're not unwanted to me." She turned her head, eyes narrow. "But I am a risk, you know that." "I don't care." "You should." "I don't." Syrah stared at the floor. Her voice was calm, but her words held pain. In Zarethi culture, we train from birth. Those who fall behind are seen as broken. They fear weakness more than death. She touched the side of her head, where a small silver mark pulsed. "This mark, it means I failed a combat trial. That's why they left me. That's why they want me gone." Daniel clenched his jaw. "They don't deserve you." Syrah blinked. "You speak like I'm worth something." He looked at her, eyes steady. "You are." That night, while most of the camp rested, Daniel made a choice. He would get her out, not just out of the pod, out of the base, out of this war. He pulled up maps on a small screen. There's an abandoned crawler path. Old supply tunnels lead to the edge of the valley. It's risky, but if we time it right, we can get out undetected. Syrah listened quietly. "You'll lose your job, your rank, everything." Daniel shrugged. "They told me once that my life wasn't worth much either, that I was born in the wrong zone, that I was just spare parts." He looked at her. "Let's prove them wrong. Together." The next day, Daniel smuggled in small energy cells, food packs, and a portable cloak field. He adjusted a hover sled and placed Syrah's essentials in it. She watched him pack, then said softly, "What if I slow you down?" Daniel chuckled. "Then I slow down." Syrah's voice cracked just a little. "You sound like someone from stories." "What kind?" "The ones we don't tell anymore." But just before they were ready to leave, something unexpected happened. A human officer walked into the supply zone. Lieutenant Maris. Sharp. Suspicious. She glanced around. Her eyes stopped on Daniel's pod. "You've been spending a lot of time here, Tech 17, she said. "Just repairs," Daniel replied quickly. Maris stepped closer. Her hand rested on her hip, near her stun pistol. "Strange. Your logs say no damage was reported." Daniel tried to stay calm. "I like to keep things in good shape." Maris leaned toward the pod door. "Mind if I take a look?" Daniel blocked the way. "Actually, I do." For a second, silence. Then she narrowed her eyes. "If you're hiding something, anything non-human, it'll cost you." She turned and walked off, leaving the threat hanging in the air. Daniel entered the pod again, heart racing. Syrah looked up. "What happened?" "Nothing. For now. But we don't have time. We leave tonight." She nodded. This time she didn't hesitate. That evening, with the camp asleep and patrols light, they began the escape. Sierra, wrapped in Daniel's old jacket, climbed onto the hover sled. He pushed it carefully through the shadows, keeping low. Every sound felt louder. Every breath felt like a risk. The stars above were bright, watching them. One wrong step, and everything would end. But Sierra didn't look afraid. She was done waiting to be thrown away again. This time she was choosing her own path, and Daniel was right beside her. The long escape night wrapped around them like a thick blanket. The cold wind blew through the broken paths of the old valley trail as Daniel guided the hover sled forward. Sierra lay low on the sled, wrapped in his jacket, her body hidden beneath a soft cloaking field. They moved like shadows, silent, careful, determined. This was no rescue mission anymore. It was a run for freedom. The escape path was old, almost forgotten. Daniel had found it by accident months ago while fixing drone wires. It was never used now. Too narrow, too rocky, and mostly collapsed. But it was perfect for avoiding sensors. Each step crunched quietly beneath his boots. Sierra whispered, "How far?" Daniel looked up at the sky, scanning the peaks above. 3 ridges, maybe 5 kilometers. After that, there's a canyon with old mining routes. Once we pass that, we're off the grid. Sierra nodded. Her face looked tired, but her eyes burned with quiet strength. They reached the first ridge by dawn. Daniel paused to check the scanner. No drones, no heat signals. We're good. But as they climbed higher, trouble came. A ground tremor. Not an earthquake. Something else. Something heavy. The sled wobbled. Rocks fell from the slope above them. Daniel dropped to one knee and covered Sierra with his body. A huge shape moved between. The trees ahead. A massive alien machine left behind by Zerathi forces. It was on patrol mode, dragging its broken legs like a spider made of steel and glass. Sierra's voice trembled. "That's a warden unit. My kind used it for hunting survivors." Daniel stared. "Perfect." The machine stopped. Its head turned. Red, eyes lit up. The sled's small cloak flickered. It saw them. "Run!" Daniel shouted. He grabbed Sierra's hand and pulled her from the sled. They sprinted off the trail into a thick patch of tall, alien grass. The ground was uneven, but Sierra kept pace. Her legs were stronger now, her breathing fast but steady. The warden roared and fired a scanning beam. It burned through the trees, cutting into the trail. Daniel and Sierra ducked behind a fallen trunk. "If it scans again, we're done," he said. Sierra looked at her hands. They shimmered faintly with blue light. "I can blind it." For a moment. Daniel frowned. "You're not ready for that." "We don't have time to wait." Before he could argue, she stood. She raised her arms, focusing her energy into her palms. Her eyes glowed bright. A pulse of blue light exploded from her hands, shooting into the warden's sensor core. Crack! The machine screamed, metal groaning, and sparks flying. Its vision flickered. Then, darkness. It collapsed, smoking, lifeless. Daniel rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" Sierra wobbled. "It hurt, but I'm fine." He caught her before she fell. "That was amazing," he said. She smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm not broken after all." They didn't stop again until nightfall. They camped in a shallow cave hidden by vines. Daniel built a small fire from dry alien bark. It burned blue and slow. Sierra leaned against the cave wall, eyes closed, breathing soft. Daniel handed her a flask. "You did something no human tech could do." "I used to be trained as a shield wielder," she said, "until I failed a test, and they took my spark away. But it never left me." Daniel nodded. "That spark saved us." She opened her eyes and looked at him seriously. "You don't have to keep going with me. You've done enough." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not going anywhere." Even if it means losing your world? Daniel stared into the fire. My world was never with rules and uniforms. My world is where people care, where no one gets left behind. He looked at her. I found my world when I found you. They didn't speak for a long time after that. The cave was quiet. The night outside was colder than ever, but inside, Sierra felt something warm. Not from the fire, from trust, from being chosen, not by law or blood, but by someone who simply refused to let her be alone. When they woke, the canyon was near, just one last climb, and maybe a life where no one ever called her useless again. Surrounded and outnumbered, the sun had not yet risen. The sky was still dark, painted in deep gray and cold purple. Daniel and Sierra stood at the edge of the final canyon, wide, silent, and forgotten by maps. Below them, the old mining routes twisted through cracked stone and shattered rails. Daniel checked the scanner again. Nothing. No patrols, he whispered. We're almost free. Sierra's breath showed in the air. Then let's not waste time. They moved quickly, crossing a broken bridge made of rusted beams and faded alien stone. Sierra walked on her own now, her steps stronger each day. Daniel followed behind, checking the shadows. Every noise made him pause. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. Halfway through the canyon, it happened. A loud crack echoed behind them. Then came the voices. Loud, sharp, human voices. Stop! Step away from her! Daniel turned fast. A full squad of Earth soldiers stood behind them. Armed. Armored. Serious. At their front, Lieutenant Maris, the same officer who had nearly discovered Sierra days ago. Now she looked furious. I knew you were hiding something, she growled. And now we have proof. Daniel raised his hand slowly. Sierra hasn't hurt anyone. She's an illegal alien survivor. And worse, she defied the kill order from her own kind. You're aiding a traitor. She's a person. She's a threat. Maris motioned to her soldiers. Take her. Sierra stepped behind Daniel. Her eyes were calm, but her hands began to glow faintly. I don't want to fight, she whispered. You won't have to, Daniel said. But he knew he couldn't stop them alone. One soldier moved forward, lifting a stun weapon. Then something strange happened. Sierra walked out from behind Daniel. Alone, she raised her arms, slow and peaceful. I surrender, she said. Daniel turned in shock. What are you doing? I'm ending this, before they hurt you. Her eyes met his. You stayed. So now I protect you. The soldiers were confused. They lowered their weapons just slightly. Maris stepped forward. That's right. Be smart, alien. Come quietly and... Suddenly, Sierra spoke in perfect human language, loud and clear. I ask for sanctuary under Earth's law of free beings. I was left for dead by my own, but this human gave me life. Your law says I have a right to speak, so let me speak. Silence. Even Maris blinked. Daniel stepped beside Sierra again, heart pounding. She knows the law. You going to ignore it in front of all your men? Maris hesitated. One of the soldiers, an older man, spoke up. Commander, she's invoking Earth Code 441. We have to take her to Central Council, not jail. Maris's face twisted. She hated losing control, but the law was the law. Finally, she pointed at Daniel. Fine, you both come in. But if either of you tries anything... Daniel held up his hand. We won't. That night, inside a temporary shelter in the command zone, Daniel and Sierra were held in a guarded medical tent. Not prisoners. Not yet. But everything could change tomorrow. Daniel sat across from her, legs crossed, watching the guards outside. They didn't shoot you, he said. Sierra nodded. Because I spoke like a human. You were brave. No, she whispered. I was free. Daniel tilted his head. What do you mean? She looked at him slowly. For the first time, I chose what to do. No command, no orders, just my voice. and they listened. Daniel leaned back and looked at the stars through the tent window. You stunned them. I stunned myself. They both laughed softly. For once, it didn't feel like running anymore. It felt like standing still and being seen. Outside the tent, Lieutenant Maris stared at the file on her wrist screen, Sierra's background, the war files, the kill order, she closed the file, face tight with confusion. She should have been deleted, she muttered. So why does she feel more human than most of us? Inside, Sierra reached across the small space and took Daniel's hand. I'm not afraid anymore, she said. Daniel squeezed her fingers. Good, because this fight is just beginning. They weren't surrounded now. They were standing in the center of something much bigger, a choice. A new home together. 3 days passed. The hearing took place on Earth's outer colony, inside a silver dome called the Human Unity Council, a place built after the Great Galactic War to judge matters of law, peace, and survival. Daniel stood beside Sierra at the center of the chamber. Around them, leaders watched from glass booths. Earth generals, alien ambassadors, even one Zerethi observer, cold-eyed and silent. Sierra's voice echoed in the quiet. I was left to die by my own people. They called me weak, unworthy, but this human stayed. Gasps murmured across the room. Daniel said nothing. He just held her hand. A hologram played her past. The moment she was abandoned, her broken body in the dust, and Daniel lifting her up when no one else would. The human judge leaned forward. You broke military code, Mr. Hale. Do you understand what that means? I do, Daniel said, and I'd do it again. The judge's eyes narrowed. Why? Because she's not garbage, she's not a threat, she's a life worth saving. Silence filled the dome. Then the Zerethi observer stood. His long cloak brushed the floor. This female has violated our final decree, he said coldly. We request she be returned to us for removal. Sierra lifted her chin. I'm not yours anymore. He blinked. You belong to your kind, by blood. No, she said firmly. I belong where I'm wanted. Daniel stepped forward. Then she belongs here, with us. The council went silent for hours. No one spoke. Then the final vote was called. One by one, hands lifted, human, alien. Even one reluctant nod from a silent AI unit. The results blinked on the screen. Approved. 9. Denied. 2. She was safe. Officially. Protected. That night outside the city dome, Daniel and Sierra sat on a bench made of soft glasswood. The stars above Earth Colony 7 glowed like silver dust. Sierra looked different now, not because her wounds had healed, but because she finally stood tall. They gave me an ID, she said quietly. Sierra Hale. Daniel smiled. You took my name? You gave me a life. A name is small compared to that. He laughed. Still, I like how it sounds. She looked at him. And now? Now we begin. Over the weeks, they found an old farming site beyond the edge of the colony. Daniel used leftover tech to build a shelter. Sierra shaped the soil with her energy gift, helping seeds grow twice as fast. Together, they created something new. Half human, half Zerethi. Not a battlefield. A home. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Sierra stood barefoot in the soft dirt. She wore a loose earth jacket and planted small crystal flowers from her planet. Their blue petals opened as her fingers touched the soil. Daniel walked over, holding 2 mugs. Tea? He offered. She took one. This smells terrible. It's an acquired taste. She sipped it, made a face, then smiled. Still better than nutrient bricks, she teased. He laughed. Told you. A quiet moment passed. Then Sierra asked, Why did you stay numb, really? Daniel looked at her carefully. You want the truth? She nodded. He took a breath. Because when I saw you lying there, broken and left behind, I saw myself. And I knew if I walked away, I'd never be whole again. Sierra's voice turned soft. You saved me. Daniel met her eyes. No. You saved me too. That night, under the stars, they sat close by the small fire. 2 different worlds, 2 different hearts. Now one story, not about war, not about rules, but about something far more powerful. Choosing to stay.